Hey everybody, welcome to Value Up Culture Building System Phase 3, Lesson 1, Changing Social Norms. It's pretty obvious that we as adults cannot change the social culture of a school because we're not in it. We're around it because their kids are in the school and we see what's happening, but we're not in that culture in the sense that we know all the nuances and the private things that are being said and the social hierarchy that's involved in all that. The only way a culture changes is when the social norms, the negative social norms change. So let's get into that a little bit. Social cultures will not change without changing negative social norms. Negative social norms begin when students collectively adapt to unhealthy behaviors, values, or expectations that are subtly reinforced over time, often without adults noticing it until they've become deeply embedded. At that point, schools often resort to policing those behaviors instead of redirecting them. Here's how negative social norms usually start. Number 1, unspoken social rules. Students observe what gains approval, attention, or status among peers, often things like sarcasm, exclusion, or mocking vulnerability. They mimic those behaviors to avoid being targeted or to gain acceptance. Number 2, influential students set the tone. Charismatic or dominant students, not always leaders in a positive sense, often define what's cool or acceptable. If these students normalize gossip, disrespect, or apathy, others follow to stay socially safe. Number 3, silence from influencers. When key influencers and adults ignore or downplay harmful behavior, like bullying, cheating, cliques, students perceive it as acceptable or unavoidable. If nobody's saying anything, I guess it's normal. Number 4, digital amplification. Toxic attitudes are reinforced through social media. Humiliation, exclusion, or conflict can go viral within the student body very quickly. Memes, reposts, and jokes can shape cruel or apathetic mindsets. Number 5, disconnection and low self-worth. When students don't feel seen, valued, or emotionally safe, they lean into protective behaviors, sarcasm, indifference, or cruelty. These behaviors become the social currency of survival. Number 6, reinforcement through group dynamics. Once a behavior becomes normalized in one group, like mockery in the lunchroom or apathy in the class, it spreads through mimicry and fear of standing out. Over time, students stop questioning the negativity because everyone is doing it. Why it matters. When cultural permission is given to negative behaviors, it creates an environment where toxic actions flourish without accountability, and victims often feel isolated and unsupported. Bystanders become conditioned to ignore injustice rather than stand up against it, reinforcing harmful norms. As a result, the overall school climate deteriorates, leading to increased levels of anxiety, depression, absenteeism, and even more violence. Common negative norms that emerge: mocking effort or participation, the try-hard shaming stuff that's going on, devaluing emotional openness, don't be soft, don't be vulnerable, glorifying defiance or disengagement, exclusion based on looks, labels, or social clout, tolerance of subtle bullying, and negative cliques. Bottom line, negative norms don't start overnight. They creep in through unchecked behaviors, peer dynamics, and silence. But they can be disrupted when trusted adults model, affirm, and help empower student leaders to bring positive alternatives, when students feel safe enough to challenge the status quo. We didn't kill terrorism when we killed Osama bin Laden because terrorism was never like about a guy, right? It's an idea. And the only way you kill a bad idea is to introduce a better idea. And so that's kind of the way we look at negative social norms in high schools or middle schools, is to change a bad idea. There's a lot of bad ideas floating around in schools that kids just accept, like we just talked about. And so the shift model is about trying to reintroduce better ideas. So let's jump into this. The Value Up Shift formula: a strategic system to uncover negative social norms and empower student-led cultural change. It's spot, it's highlight, and it's influence, frame, and transform. Number 1, spot the negative social norms. Identify harmful social patterns that are being normalized. They are poisoning the culture more than you probably realize. You got to ask these questions. What behavior is common but quietly toxic? What's being rewarded socially, like ridicule, cliques, apathy? What rules do students follow to stay accepted even if they're harmful? Number 2, highlight the influencers. Identify students who are intentionally or unintentionally setting the tone. If they're not for you, then they're probably against you. You have to ask, who do others watch, follow, or imitate? Who influences group behavior, for better or for worse? Are these students aware of their power? Here's a good strategy. Create a confidential list of culture carriers, positive and negative. Build trust with them. Don't shame them. Recruit them. Negative norms often continue not because of bad kids, but because of influential kids without any direction. I guarantee that you can take any negative social norm in your school and attach a kid to it, right? So if there's a negative social norm being driven by any group, there's usually 1 or 2 kids that are driving that. Those are the kids you're really trying to recruit to change the culture, because if you can get them, then you basically can get anybody. It's like the bowling pin principle, right? When you bowl, I don't bowl because I think it's weird, but if you bowl, you bowl for the head pin to get the other pins down. That's kind of the idea of this, is finding those kids that have that social equity, and they probably have a crew of people that they're influenced by them, so you want to get them. So that's the way to look at that. Yeah, so we're trying to influence the influencers, redirect the leaders who shape the tone. How? Invite them into student culture team or leadership opportunity. Privately affirm their influence, then challenge them. Offer ownership. Help us flip the script. Get to them and help them see the vision of maybe changing the culture a little bit. The fact that you left them alone communicates they're not needed. A lot of times those kids do feel like they could be doing something about this, but there's no direction. So giving them direction really helps them. What if people followed your kindness like they follow your sarcasm? I mean, that's just an idea of how you would approach them. Use curiosity, not correction. Make them allies, not targets. Frame a new norm. This is the F in the shift, right? Frame a new norm. Define and elevate a healthier standard of behavior. You kill a bad idea by introducing a better idea, like I said. Here's some question to ask kids. What kind of school do you want to be in? I mean, I think it's a good question to ask kids. What do you like? How do you feel safe? What do you see happening in this school that's going to make people feel emotionally safe? What norm could we create that feels cool, but also kind? And how can we make that, spread? How can we make that more popular? Here's some examples: from mocking effort to celebrating effort as confidence, from exclusion to normalizing one kind gesture a day, from self-medication to building resilience. You can get together and co-create slogans like, social media campaigns or visual symbols, campaigns like kindness campaigns. At one school I did, took the shoe idea and they put shoes up and they had kids put their dreams on the shoes, and kids could visually see, their dreams and a way they wanted to reach out and help other students. Let students name the movement, right? Come up with some, ideas. A lot of kids have really good ideas to do things that will bring, a different kind of social norm. So utilize those kids. And number 5, the T in the shift model: transform through visibility and repetition. Purpose: make the new culture visible, contagious, and sustainable. Spotlight student role models. Make it cool to lead with empathy, effort, or courage. Regularly reset staff language and reinforce desired behaviors in class. A couple ideas you could do is, have a culture MVP shout-outs, like monthly reflection circles, student-led assemblies, or videos challenging toxic norms, or, promoting new, positive norms. Yeah, so the idea is to not, take these negative norms and be punitive with them, but to, have a slow change, right? To slowly change some of those negative norms into positive ideas. So mainly, let's just go ahead and summarize the shift formula. We want to spot the negative norms. Again, not to be punitive, but we want to know what they are. And then to highlight, match a kid, right? If it's being driven by a group of kids, you want to know what kids are driving that. And again, not to be punitive, but we want to recruit them. We want to help them help us change it, right? So the influence, you want to influence them. That's why it's so important to have those students matched up with a teacher, and that connection piece that we talked about in phase 2, so we can, have a positive influence on those kids and maybe recruit them to change it. And then to frame, the F is for framing a new norm, right? Get some new ideas, some fresh ideas that are going to promote kindness and, promote a more safe, emotionally environment in the school. And then the T is for transform, right? To put those new norms in front of the kids, to be repetitive with that and find creative ways to help kids see that that's a better, way to live. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video and learning these new things. I'm really wanting to make myself available if I can, especially when it comes to this kind of stuff, because this is the thing that really, I believe, this part of what we're talking about is the nuts and bolts on changing a culture. It's the hard part. It's the identifying those kids that are driving the negative social norms and then building a relationship with them to help them see that they could be part of a solution. And that's not easy. That's relationship. That there's no sweeping legislative, rule in the school that's going to make a new social norm that's positive be part of the culture until some of those kids begin to see it. So that's what this is all about. Hope you learned a lot. If I can be of any kind of help to you, let me know. Reach out to us. I will see you in the next lesson. We're going to be talking about cliques. We actually were talking negatively about cliques, but this next teaching, we're going to be talking more about how we can recruit those cliques and give those cliques a mission to help change the culture of the school. So we'll see you next time. All right. See you later. Bye.